Welcome back to the Ben Thomas Show. I am excited to show you guys this figure today. Now, I know we've already seen the Joker, and the Joker was a hot figure, but I've needed a Batman to go along with my Joker now for at least 2 years. And when the Batman animated series options first came out, I missed them entirely. And of course, they skyrocketed in price. As soon as they went to the secondary market, you couldn't find them anymore. And so I was really excited when I stopped into my local Toys R Us last weekend and saw this guy sitting on the shelf. Perfect option to go with my Joker. So let's take a look at this figure. Compared to the Joker box art, this one's a little plain Jane, I'm not gonna lie. I expected, similar to other toy lines, that we would get to see this whole toy line maybe displayed on the back of the box, but that's honestly not the case. It's the same image that you're seeing here of the Batman kind of shrouded in yellow, and it's the same on the back. It's very plain packaging. But I did want to highlight this part for you on the back. So anybody who likes to keep their figures on the card, I totally get that. For me, I like to feel it in hand. I want to get it out, right? And so this plastic flap on the back, if you do slide a knife down the side, it does allow you to essentially pull the packaging away so that you can slip that clamshell out with the figure. Now, it does rip the backboard a little bit. You can't see it too badly here, but I would say that if you intended to try and resell this figure, or you want to have full value with the figures box, you will lose some of the value if you do take this guy out of the package. I never intend to sell these guys, so that's okay. Here we get a chance just to really see what Batman looks like in the clamshell once you get it removed. Now, his cape is slotted through the back of this plastic, so it's actually really hard to get out. Just a heads up there. The hands and the batarangs that come with it are, of course, plastic. The wrist pegs on this guy are some of the smallest freaking wrist pegs I have ever seen. So I caution you guys, be very, very careful when you're swapping hands out with this figure. But they do seem like good quality, and they're painted really well. Even the matching between the batarang and the hand here on terms of the blue is actually really good. So I am impressed with that. Now, I love the look of this figure. Out of the box, the cell shading on the front of the cape with the blue and, interwoven in with the black, I think looks really good. I mean, it gives that illusion of light hitting the cape and having those kind of pops of blue flashing that you get to see in the animated show itself. I really, really like that. The cape maintains that blueness underneath. So again, it gives you that illusion of, is it blue or is it black? It's hard to know. I think it depends on the light that's hitting Batman, which again harkens back to the animated series so well. Now, I mean, keep in mind, this is not, of course, the first time they've released this figure. This is technically a second version of this release, and so I do think that they've made some tweaks to it. I noticed that the head sculpt looks a little bit different than the original. I do like that the head does pivot. It turns really well, both left and right side. That direction you're seeing right now is about the maximum angle. The arms do raise up relatively well. The joints on this figure are really stiff, and I do think it's partially paint application and just the way that it's been tightened together. I notice the more I futz with the figure, the more loose it gets, which could be a negative and could be a positive. I do worry a little bit about wearing in the joints from the paint. I noticed that on the Joker, that I had some paint transference between joints the more I would pose it, and I do think you'd see that on this figure. I do think that the knee joints on this figure are really ugly. It is the one part of this figure that really kind of takes me out of it and makes it feel a little bit more like a toy, a little bit less like a premium collectible, but it's not. I mean, it's a very low price point, comparatively to either a Hot Toys or some of those other scales that we see even in the McFarlane line, for example. I do find that the posability here is pretty good. You do get some pretty solid bends at the knees. You do get the swivels at the elbows. You do get the swivels at the hand joints, of course, because you can swap the hands out. And you can see here that you can raise the arms up pretty well in terms of either like a flight looking pose, or if he holds his grappling gun later in the video, you get a chance to see that he is able to in fact raise his arm directly above his head, which is really cool. And again, you can get a little bit more posability out of him. Now, what you might not be seeing, or what you might be able to tell here, is I'm having a heck of a time getting this guy to stand on his own. I'm not really sure why they didn't release this figure with a figure stand. The Joker came with a figure stand. I mean, it's a circular base plate for him to step on, but he comes with it. This guy has a very narrow footprint. So especially on a shinier table like I've got him on here, he does not want to stand very well, I'm not gonna lie, which is a pain in the ass because he actually has a decent level of posability for a smaller scale figure. But again, you win some, you lose some. What I have noticed is you can kind of use the cape as a bit of a support system on the leg. So you can see even here, it's actually the cape that's helping to hold the structure of the leg, which actually then helps him to stay in position. So there's some cheats that you can at least do. Again, what am I really expecting out of a $30 price point figure? Mostly that he can stand by himself, and that he's a little posable, and that he looks the part. And I would say that this figure 100% looks the part for what I wanted out of an animated series Batman. Now, one of the wins I find is the fact that they gave a hand with a grappling gun already in position. So you don't need to try and futz with that gun and get it in the palm. But I do find that the cape is actually really heavy because of the rubber construction of it. It really wants to pull this figure over. So there are some cheats, but there are some poses that I tried to do that I just couldn't pull off because of the weight of that cape. Here's that example I mentioned earlier of the arm being able to go directly upright and the way that the head can tilt up. So it actually looks like he's about to grapple up to a building, which I think is freaking really cool. It just looks good. It looks exactly like what I would want, again, out of an animated series Batman. But there are still some of those limitations, again, in the posability, and without the figure stand, there are some poses that I know this figure 100% could pull off that I just can't do because the stand isn't there. What I do really like, again, is the fact that he comes at least with several different hands. I like that he comes with the Batarang. I like that the animation style is really captured in the way that they've painted it. Again, here's just another example of the cape and how that looks. But they even gave us a foot peg section. Like, it looks to me like they originally thought this guy would need a figure stand, because it's exactly the same type of peg that the Joker has, but they didn't give it to us. So they either forgot or decided to put the funds in something else. Doesn't matter. Here, again, you just get a chance to see that Joker that we've already reviewed in the previous video, just standing beside Batman. Now, obviously, this is a grapple gun and not a real gun, but I like just the kind of dichotomy of seeing Batman and the Joker together. I think the color schemes look really, really good. Because that Joker is the older style Joker, he is a little bit lighter of a purple than the new one that's come out. And I mean, everybody always asks you, who's your Batman, right? I mean, if you're a Batman fan, everybody has that gut check, whether it's Keaton, whether it's Bale, now maybe Pattinson. Everybody has their Batman. I have always loved the Kevin Conroy voice actor who does the animated series Batman. To me, he always sounded like what Bruce Wayne would sound like and what Batman would sound like. And the art direction of the show was always beautiful to watch. And so if I had to think of an animated Batman, it would definitely be Kevin Conroy. For me, a live action Batman would still probably be the Nolanverse. Next would be Pattinson, though, which I wanted to pair beside this guy. This is the McFarlane Batman from the Batman film. Obviously, he's quite a lot larger than this scale, so if you do pair multiple scales together, just keep that in mind that some of the McFarlane lines are definitely going to be what looks like overscaled in comparison to this Batman The Adventure Continues line. But I would say, if I had to rate this figure, I would still give this guy an 8.5 out of 10. I love the way it looks. To me, it is the animated series Batman now in my collection. He looks great with my original Joker that I got from a few years ago. The figure line itself, I think, is going to be really beautiful to look at if you are a collector who wants all of the figures. Honestly, the main negative I would say about this figure is that he doesn't come with a base, but that's a pretty easy fix for any of us who have a few extra bases laying around, so I would definitely pair this guy with one. I do think a dynamic flight pull would have helped, but at least a circular base for him to be able to stand a little bit more fixed in my collection, I would have definitely appreciated. And that's the main reason this score was brought down slightly, but I would love to hear your thoughts. So please leave a comment in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this figure? Are you excited about this toy line, or am I the only one? And at the end of the day, I just want to say thanks for always watching, guys. If you do like the video, just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you on the next figure video.